The Copper Ridge Ranch sprawled across 50,000 acres of Arizona territory, built on water rights and cattle, and the kind of generational wealth that allowed a man to remake the world according to his vision. Victoria Ashford inherited it all at 28 when her father died, which made her the richest woman in the territory and the loneliest. She'd spent her entire life learning to manage the ranch, learning business in cattle and land, but no one had taught her how to manage the isolation that came with unprecedented power. She lived alone in a house built for a family of 20. She rode out across her land each morning, assessing, calculating, building. Men courted her for her money. Society women befriended her for her status. No one actually saw her. Then on a Tuesday morning in September, she found the girl. She was maybe 16, half Mexican and half Apache, wearing the clothes of someone who'd been living rough. She was half conscious near the south well, dehydrated and sunburned, with the kind of desperation in her eyes that spoke of running from something. Her name, she managed to whisper, was Isabela. Victoria's ranch hands wanted to turn her away. She was half-breed, which meant trouble. She'd bring complications, they said. But Victoria saw something in the girl's face that mirrored something in her own, the absolute loneliness of not belonging anywhere. She brought Isabela into the main house despite the protests. She fed her, healed her wounds, gave her a room and clean clothes. Isabela was wary at first, suspicious of kindness that came without strings. But Victoria proved patient. She didn't ask questions about where Isabela came from or who she was running from. She simply offered safety and waited. Over weeks, the story came out in pieces. Isabela's mother had been Apache, taken by a Mexican soldier. Her childhood had been spent in the spaces between worlds. Too Apache for the Mexican communities, too Mexican for the Apache bands. When her mother died, she'd had nowhere to belong. A wealthy rancher had taken her in, promising to make her respectable, to give her a position as a maid. What he'd actually wanted was a plaything. When she'd resisted, he'd beaten her and thrown her out. Victoria listened to the story and felt something harden in her chest, anger, but also recognition. Isabela had been rejected for exactly what she was. So had Victoria, just in different ways. "You can stay," Victoria said simply, "for as long as you want. No one will touch you here. No one will hurt you." "Why?" Isabela asked, her English careful but fluent. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," Victoria said. "I want you to have a safe place. I want you to heal. I want you to become whoever you're meant to be without anyone forcing you into a role." Isabela stayed. She worked in the kitchen at first, learning Victoria's preferences, her rhythms. But Victoria quickly moved her other roles. She taught her to ride, to manage livestock, to understand the business of ranching. Isabela was naturally intelligent, and under Victoria's mentorship, she blossomed. She went from frightened runaway to confident young woman in the span of a year. That's when men started noticing. The first was a neighboring rancher, a man named Dalton who owned land adjacent to Copper Ridge. He was handsome and charming, and he wanted Isabela. When Victoria gently suggested that Isabela might not be interested, he laughed. "She's half-breed," he said plainly. "What else could she possibly want besides a man willing to take her?" Victoria felt rage move through her like fire. She could want her own life, her own choices, her own future that doesn't revolve around being claimed by someone who sees her as a conquest. "You're protecting her like she's something precious," Dalton said with a smile that made Victoria's skin crawl. "That's sweet, but we both know what she is." He rode away, but others came. Wealthy men, powerful men, men who saw Isabela as an opportunity. A beautiful half-breed girl, clearly in Victoria's household, without family to protect her. The implication was that she was available, that she could be bought or taken. Victoria grew harder, colder, more protective. She began keeping Isabela close, riding with her, making sure she was never alone. Some people began to whisper that the two women were more than friends, that Victoria's protection had crossed into something inappropriate. Victoria didn't care. She would face down every man in Arizona before she'd let anyone hurt Isabela again. Then Sebastian Whitmore arrived. He came from old California money, was 40 years old, powerful and intelligent, and owned land that bordered Copper Ridge on the eastern side. He'd been away for years, managing his family's interests in San Francisco, and was returning to reclaim his inheritance. He was polite at first, courteous, the kind of man who seemed to understand boundaries. But Sebastian saw something that the other men didn't see. He saw Victoria. He watched how she moved around Isabela, with protectiveness that went beyond friendship, with a tenderness that suggested deep feeling. He noticed how Isabela watched Victoria when she thought no one was looking, with gratitude and affection, and something that might have been love in whatever form love took between two women who'd found each other in darkness. One evening, Sebastian approached Victoria on the porch of the main house, where she was watching the sunset. "You love her," he said simply. Victoria's entire body went rigid. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do," Sebastian said. "You love her." "Not platonically. Actually love her. And she loves you, though neither of you has the words for it." "You're wrong," Victoria said coldly. "I'm not," Sebastian said. He sat down beside her, without being invited. "And I think you're suffering because of it. Because you can't claim what you want. Because society won't permit it. Because you're terrified of what it means." Victoria wanted to throw him off her land. Instead, she found herself speaking. "It doesn't matter what I feel. What matters is that she's safe, that she has a life, that she's not defined by what other people want from her. She should be free to choose," Sebastian said, "including choosing you." Over the following months, Sebastian became a regular visitor to Copper Ridge. He brought books for Isabela, discussed business with Victoria, and somehow became a friend to both of them. He never mentioned that conversation again, but Victoria noticed that his actions aligned with his words. He treated Isabela with complete respect, and he seemed genuinely interested in Victoria as a person. One evening, Sebastian surprised them both. "I'm leaving Copper Ridge," he said. "I'm selling my land, moving to San Francisco permanently." Victoria felt something clench in her chest. She'd become accustomed to his presence. More than accustomed, she'd become dependent on it. "When?" she asked. "In 2 weeks," Sebastian said, "unless someone gives me a reason to stay." He looked at Victoria when he said it. Isabela, sitting between them, looked from him to Victoria, understanding something was happening that she wasn't part of. "What reason would that be?" Victoria asked carefully. "The chance to be useful," Sebastian said. "The chance to help protect someone precious. The chance to build something that matters." That night, after Sebastian left, Isabela came to Victoria's room. "He knows," Isabela said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Victoria admitted. "Does it bother you?" "No," Victoria said. He wasn't cruel about it. He wasn't judging. Isabela sat on the edge of Victoria's bed. "I've never had anyone fight for me the way you do. I've never felt like I mattered the way I matter to you." "You matter," Victoria said. "You matter more than anything in this world." "I know," Isabela said. She reached out and took Victoria's hand. "That's why I want you to be happy. And you're not happy hiding." The next morning, Victoria invited Sebastian back. She told him the truth, that she loved Isabela, that she couldn't imagine her life without her, that she would never marry a man because her heart had already chosen. She told him that if he was staying, he needed to understand what that meant. She wasn't a woman who could be a good wife, wasn't a woman who fit society's expectations. And she was done trying. Sebastian listened carefully. Then he smiled. "I'm not asking you to marry me," he said. "I'm asking to stay, to be part of your life, to help protect what you and Isabela are building. There are legal structures in this territory that allow unconventional arrangements, partnerships, business relationships, trusts. I can help you create something that protects both of you while allowing you to live openly." "Why would you do that?" Victoria asked, suspicious of kindness offered so freely. "Because the world breaks people like you and Isabela," Sebastian said. "And I believe the least a person with money and power can do is make space for love, however it looks. You've taken in a half-breed girl that society wanted to destroy. You've made her into someone powerful. The least I can do is help protect that." Sebastian stayed. He bought a smaller property just outside of Copper Ridge, close enough to be part of their lives. He handled the business side of Victoria's operations, freeing her to focus on the ranch itself. More importantly, he became a buffer between the world and Victoria and Isabela. When people gossip about the arrangement, two women living together with a man as their business manager, Sebastian made it clear that it was a legal partnership, that all three of them were building an empire together. The curious part of it was that it was true. The three of them did build something extraordinary together. Within 5 years, Copper Ridge had become the most successful ranch in Arizona. Victoria's innovative approaches to cattle management and water conservation made her famous. Isabela, now 21, had become known as the woman who understood both Apache and Mexican traditions, brokering peace between communities that had been at war for decades. Sebastian, the wealthy outsider, had become the man who'd proven that loyalty to people mattered more than following society's rules. Victoria never married. Neither did Isabela. But they built a life together that was more solid, more authentic, more real than any conventional marriage could have been. And Sebastian, though he could have left at any time, stayed because he'd found something rare, a chance to be useful, to protect something precious, to be part of something meaningful. 20 years later, when Victoria was dying from an illness that had taken her suddenly, she called Isabela to her bedside. Her hand was thin and fragile, but her grip was strong. "Thank you," Victoria whispered, "for staying, for loving me, for being brave enough to claim a love that society said was impossible. You taught me that," Isabela said, tears running down her face. "You taught me that I was worth something, worth claiming, worth fighting for." The will Victoria left behind shocked the territory. The entire Copper Ridge Ranch, along with significant holdings and trusts, went to Isabela. She was made the formal owner, with Sebastian as executor and advisor. A letter explained that Isabela had been Victoria's greatest treasure, not because she was half-breed, but because she was herself, fully, completely, authentically herself. Isabela ran Copper Ridge for another 40 years, making it bigger, stronger, more successful. She became a legend, the half-breed woman who'd been saved by a wealthy rancher and had gone on to become one of the most powerful landowners in Arizona history. When people asked her about Victoria, she would smile. "She claimed me as her greatest treasure," Isabela would say. "But the truth is, I was the one who got the greatest gift. I was given a chance to become myself. That's worth more than all the land in Arizona."